What's going on, everybody? It's Steel Jedi here. Just quick, gonna do a video and record it before my show comes on at 8. I just want to get into about a 4 or 5 round mock to let you guys know what my latest thoughts are. This draft is really hard for me to pinpoint a specific position that we need to pick round 1. A lot of people are saying outside linebacker. A lot of people are saying corner. A lot of people are saying quarterback. A lot of people are saying safety. So it all depends on who you go to. To me, I've flip-flopped back and forth between outside linebacker and cornerback. So today, I want to also bring up the fact of 2 things. One, I'm actually playing some old school Madden. I think it's Madden 2012. So if you hear the clicking of my Xbox, that's exactly what you're hearing. Also, this mock draft is not for the fair weather fan. And what I mean by this is the fans that immediately click off the video because they don't agree with my opinion. It may seem crazy at first who I'm picking in some of the rounds, but if you really think about it, it makes a ton, and I mean a ton of sense. So without further ado, without keeping this video too long, let's get right into it. So with the first round selection, the 30th overall pick, I have my Pittsburgh Steelers selecting TJ Watt. Reason being, the only way that I can't see us taking him is if Green Bay or Dallas picks him up, and don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's a cruel late April Fool's joke, but Tony Romo was traded to the Texans for J.J. Watt. Now, the only reason why I say this is because now if the Texans have J.J. Watt, they're not going to go after an outside linebacker on round 1, which means they're probably going to go after a cornerback or a safety because they lost a lot in the draft. So, with that being said, I have my Pittsburgh Steelers selecting TJ Watt because he can come in day 1 and really add a different look to our defense. We have been lacking a player on our defense that really just brings that physicality and feistiness to our defense. I mean, we have that with Mike Mitchell, but he's more of a liability than he is a good player, in my opinion. So I have us picking TJ Watt round 1. Now, this is where it gets a little bit risky. And if you guys think about this, it makes a ton of sense. And I just want you to hear me out, the reason why I have this player picked. I have us in the second round picking up Sidney Jones, cornerback out of Washington. Reason being, granted, I know he's hurt. I know he has a torn Achilles, which is never good for a corner. But at this point, it's worth the risk to bring in a guy who potentially would have been one of the best corners taken in this year's draft. So you bring him in, and regardless of who you bring in, either an outside linebacker or a cornerback, they're not going to start day 1, just like Artie Burns didn't start day 1 last year. So he has time to recover. He has time to learn the playbook. And Ross Cockrell will probably be starting ahead of him. But once he is healthy, we will have one of the strongest secondaries in the National Football League. I can almost guarantee that. So, Sidney Jones is a bit of a risk, but his talent is undeniable. You bring him in and he can change your defense around, especially your secondary. And even if you wanted to, you can move him into the slot and work him as a slot corner if Senquez Golson does not stay healthy. Third round, first pick in the third round, I have my Pittsburgh Steelers selecting Marcus Maye, free safety / strong safety out of Florida. The nice thing about picking him up is he is very, very similar to a mix between Sean Davis and Keanu Neal. You bring him in to Pittsburgh, and right there, you can work both Sean Davis and Marcus Maye at the free safety spot and at the strong safety spot, and you could really feel good about taking Marcus Maye over Mike Mitchell on your defense. I think Marcus Maye would be a steal round 3, but because of the depth at the safety position this year, it is the reason why he's dropping so far. I mean, you have guys like Malik Hooker ahead of him, guys like Jamal Adams ahead of him, guys like Obi Melifonwu in front of him, guys like, personally, I would put even Eddie Jackson before him. So you bring him in with a third pick, or the third round, our first selection in the third round, sorry. Here's another one that might surprise a lot of people, especially because a lot of people have him drafted a lot higher. I have my Pittsburgh Steelers with the second pick in the third round selecting another corner. A guy by the name of Fabian Moreau, cornerback out of UCLA. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. 2 corners in the first 3 rounds? Are you crazy? Think about it this way. The Pittsburgh Steelers got absolutely torched against the New England Patriots. Absolutely torched. Ross Cockrell gave up 300-plus yards between 2 receivers. That's pathetic. And like I said, he wouldn't start day 1. He would have time to recover. The nice thing about getting Sidney Jones and Fabian Moreau is that they both have tremendous upside. And can you imagine our secondary, especially if both of them can stay healthy for a full season? You have Artie Burns, who is going to be a stud for the Pittsburgh Steelers for years to come. Then you have Sidney Jones, who was arguably one of the best corners in this year's draft. You have Fabian Moreau that is coming in that would be able to play any position on the secondary. You can even put him at free safety. And the nice thing about him is when he's on the field, it comes naturally to him, which is what I love about Fabian Moreau. The issue that he has, and the reason why I have him dropping all the way to the end of the third round, is because of the fact that he had, I believe, an ankle injury that sidelined him for the 2015 season, and then he just tore his pectoral muscle here at the beginning of the pro days schedule. So he's dropping to the end of round 3 for me. Round 4, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers selecting Brad Kaaya. A lot of people have him in the third round, and while it's realistic, I don't think it's probable because of the fact that while Brad Kaaya is a talented prospect, I personally believe Josh Dobbs is going to go before him. But Brad Kaaya has a lot that he needs to work on, especially dealing with pressure. And in the AFC North, it is extremely hard for you to succeed as a quarterback, especially when you can't throw well, you can't have your proper mechanics when you're pressured. So you bring him in, he's probably going to be a backup his entire career in Pittsburgh, and you go after a quarterback, and you really be aggressive next year in the 2018 draft and bringing in the next heir apparent to Ben Roethlisberger. But that being said, he's an upgrade over Landry Jones, and I think he can come in and he could compete for that second spot, and if not, he's always good depth for the Pittsburgh Steelers to have. Lastly, which is the 5th round, I have my Pittsburgh Steelers selecting James Conner, running back out of Pitt. A lot of people have him going in the 3rd or 4th round. I can't see it. With the depth at this running back position in the 2017 NFL draft, it's too deep for a guy like James Conner to go in the 3rd or 4th round. Personally, I believe there's going to be a dry spell in the 2nd and a little bit of the 3rd, which would push everybody's draft stock back. But you bring him in, he's a hometown boy. He played at Pitt, so he played at Heinz Field, so he knows every aspect of the stadium. You bring him in, and he is a nice 1-2 punch with Le'Veon Bell. And on top of all of that, even if he isn't a second back, you have a guy like Nile Davis to come in and help Le'Veon Bell out. But bringing James Conner in is just a nice change of pace, power back that we've been lacking since Jerome Bettis. So that is my 5-round mock draft. Let me know what you guys think in the description box below. and may the steel be with you.